stuff started from. The oldest religion or the oldest spiritual system in the world is called Typhonian, Ophidian, and Draconian. You ever heard just your ideas are very draconian? Well, where does that stuff come from? Number one, Draconian means the constellation of Draco, the great dragon, the northern region of the hemisphere. The great dragon, later on known as Leviathan. Before it was Leviathan, it was Typhon, Leviathan, and Typhonian, Typhon. This is the pre-dynastic Kemet. The pre-dynastic Typhonian Kemet matured, developed, matured, and declined before you get the first monumental phases in ancient Kemet that you know of as the dynastic Kemet, or dynastic Egypt. The Typhonians, or the Draconians, or the Ophidians is the oldest known worship system in the world. You get the constellation of Draco, or the great dragon, which is basically the great mother being replaced by the masculine principle. Even if you get the creation story in Egypt, Ra comes in and replaces Apep, the great dragon or the great mother. Apep is known as the great dragon, or it's also known as the hippopotamus. In the temple of Dendera, let's see if I got some more pictures. In the temple of Dendera and the zodiac of Dendera, see if I got this in here. The zodiac of Dendera, which is the temple of Dendera in Kemet, they tore down one temple and put up an older temple. They tore down one temple, but there was actually a papyrus in the wall giving them the instructions on how to fix the new temple and put the same hieroglyphic inscriptions on it. This temple is 90,000 years old. And you've seen this zodiac of Dendera, which is the oldest concept of deity or God on the planet. Now, in the middle is this same hippopotamus goddess giving birth to all of this. That's the constellation of Draco. And this particular goddess in heaven registers as the black woman on earth, which is the oldest concept of deity. Ra comes in and replaces Apep, Apet, Tyrt, and you have your masculine order. And they made all of the feminine stuff into Satan. So she becomes the great whore of Babylon. You see, she becomes Lilith, the evil one. You see. And in other mythology, she's replaced and she's degraded into evil. Before you have creation, this world was built off of several other primal worlds. So this is in the middle, the hippopotamus goddess. Our world was built off of several other primal worlds. These worlds existed about the same amount of time this world, what we call creation, exists now. So let's say roughly, the white boy say 13 billion years. Prior to that, you have what is called the primal worlds, and those particular primal worlds was the realm of the Great Mother. Now, let's go into some stuff so we can deal with that. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 mythologies. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 mythologies so we can deal with this. The first mythology we're going to go into to trace this thing, because your Typhonian, after the Typhonian, the pre-dynastics came in, they established Ra they basically destroyed a lot of the Typhonian stuff. But those temples down in Nubia that was covered over at the Aswan Dam, covered over 200 temples, they replaced it. They replaced those particular temples with Typhonian information. And they had tons of this Typhonian information in the British Museum. But when Gerald Massey came in and did his 6 books, they locked down all that stuff. And this is the pre-dynastic stuff. So we're going to go into a couple of mythologies so you can understand what went on. We're going to go into, so the Typhonian stuff, it didn't survive in Kemet, but it traveled out of Kemet into the place where you call Mesopotamia and Babylonia and all that stuff. That was just nothing but another form of Kush, or Etruria, Tyrrhenia, Typhonia. So we're going to trace a couple of these stories so you can get this down pat on how you became, how you are higher than the God who created you. How can you be higher than the God who created you? That's just some crazy shit you talking, nigga. That don't make no damn sense. You know, that don't make no sense. I got a damn headache from all this heat. What, look. Look. See, we down south got a motherfucking remedy. If you from down south, you know what I'm talking about. BC Standback a goodie. That's a goodie. You got a sprained ankle, you take a goodie, you can walk on that shit. My grandmama, when my grandmama, she was 80. And the doctor came back and said, damn, this woman here, she has the heart of a 16-year-old. My mama said, shit, they didn't know that bitch was hooked on goodies. You know? I think she would have died about 20 years earlier, but the goodies kept her ass alive. She was just a zombie, and the goodies kept her alive. Now, let's go home. Now. So now, how did we become higher than the gods who created us? Y'all all right? Okay. We're going to give you several versions of this. All of this is African. We're going to start off with, because we want to get to this pre-dynastic thing. We want to find out what is older than all these bulljive religions. So let's go way back and we'll trace these things, and that's where the scholarship comes in to piece all this stuff together and weave it together so we can get a clear synopsis on who we are and how this thing goes down. Then we can go into some other science on how we raise up out of here and all this kind of stuff here too. Now, let's go into this remote history. So the first one we'll go to is the so-called, what they call the Babylonian, which we know is nothing but Typhonian Egyptian. But for the sake of words and stuff, the white boy didn't write this stuff. If he wrote this, we in trouble, because this shit is profound. But we can trace it all the way even back to Kemet. So everywhere you go, we can find a version of it, because you ain't dealing with no idiot. Now, let's deal with this stuff. In the Babylonian Genesis, Alexander Hadel's book, Babylonian Genesis, Alexander Hadel's book, Babylonian Genesis, in the text called the Enuma Elish, creation myths. They start off with a goddess named Tiamat. Mayat was in the beginning. Mayat will be in the end. So is it in the beginning? Will it be in the end? So Mayat becomes Tiamat in Babylonia, or what they call Babylonia. It's basically Typhonia. All that's the same black land. Indus, Kush, Cam, Camemoria, Alchemoria. So the story goes that the Great Mother used to rule for thousands of years, for millions of years, for billions of years. The Great Mother used to rule. The Great Mother got old, which means She started slowing down and going to sleep. The cycle started deteriorating. That age, called Ayin in the Kabbalah, called chaos in the Bible, and melanin is chaos. That's what it is. Chaos never stops moving. Melanin never stops moving. That's when they take melanin out of the body, it changes the whole composition. Richard King tells you that melanin is chaos. Now they got chaos magic, chaos mathematics, chaos physics. All that stuff is breaking down melanin. You know, breaking down melanin.